Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Welcome to Kōrero With Vaishali, where everyone comes to love, laugh, live the moment and inspires all to live our life in its authentic way, being the best version of ourselves. So today, I guess you all can see what's happening today. You all know her? So we have Jahaya today. And yes, as she has surprised us all, she is standing for the elections. So I thought let's catch up with Jahaya and find out what is that going on in her mind and what is that best she's trying to bring around. So let's welcome Jahaya. Welcome to Kōrero With Vaishali. How are you?
Tēnā koe, kia ora. I'm doing well. Yeah, it's good to be back again in the hot seat. Kia ora.
Oh, yes. I am happy to have you around as well. So you already broke the news. You're standing for the elections.
I am
which
standing.
is amazing, isn't
Yes,
it?
yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Tēnā
All
koe.
right. So now we would like to know more about you.
Yes. Yes.
So let's get into it. Can you please tell us
Yes.
about yourself, a little bit more about yourself, because that was just that was a quick catch up. So we didn't
Dive
get to know
deep.
much about you, and we didn't get, So tell us about personal life and a little bit about your professional life.
Tēnā koe me tēnā koutou katoa. Ko waio, he kākano ahau ngō Ngāti Haua, Ngāti Koro ki Kahukara, me Ngāti Pākehā hoki, kei te noho ahau kei Kirikiriroa, kei te noho au kei Ngōera, ko Jahaya Wheki tōku ingoa, tēnā rā tātou katoa. Kia ora. So I'm standing for the Kirikiriroa Māori ward seat, and a little bit about me. All right, well, let's start with my personal life. In my personal life, I like to dance. I love to do photography. I love to do a lot of creative things, whether it be singing or dancing or just doing mahi toi. I also really love Shortland Street as well. Shortland Street is one of my go-tos. I absolutely love it. So you can catch me on TVNZ on Tawan watching Shortland Street and just getting up to play with it. And in my professional life, I'm really blessed. I work in community. I work in the youth sector where we focus on social innovation in that space. And I also work in a whole world that's focused on systems change. Have you heard a little bit about systems change and what it is?
Systems are changing everywhere, I guess.
That's
So that is what
right.
it is, isn't it?
That
Innovation.
is, yeah. And so working in the systems change space has really been incredible to look at when we have a problem. Sometimes we have solutions for that problem, but sometimes it's actually the solutions that keep the problem stuck and keep the problem in play. So essentially what Systems Change World aims to do is to try to get to the root of the issue so that the problem can disappear in that way. But to get to the root, there's a lot of different layers, and especially here in Aotearoa, we really got to think about the context. So taking into consideration he whakaputanga and te tiriti o Waitangi to ensure that not only are we honouring the issues that are arising, but also thinking about the context in which they were started. So I'm blessed to be in that space for mahi as well, and so there's been a lot of opportunities in that space. But in my professional life, I'd say that I work in a lot of spaces of hope. I'm grateful to be in spaces that facilitate environments for young people to learn about the history of our whenua, to connect with their whakapapa, as well as learn about mana motuhake, leadership, and systems change as well. So that's been a really big dream of mine, and I'm grateful for my workplace, Seed Waikato, where we get to embody that and explore how can we create an equitable, thriving future for everyone.
That's wonderful. Thank you. So already you've been doing community work, but still I will ask you, what had inspired you to stand for elections?
Yeah.
And how did you come up with the surprising us all?
Yeah, that's a great partai. I think my natural journey has just led me to a space where this was the only option. This was the only option for me, was to stand. Working in community, I've been really grateful. I started in a space where I was enrolling a lot of young people and Māori about how they can vote, how they can have their voice heard. So I worked in that space. And from there, I started to get engaged in community, where we started to run a lot of local election events that connected candidates with rangatahi. So essentially I was the bridge in between, or our workspace was, where we got to connect young people, where they got to find out who was standing. So being in that space, I got really inspired, obviously, from being around people that wanted to represent our city, that cared about things in our city. And there was one event in particular, it was called Let's Give a Shit About Politics. And essentially it platformed a lot of young people in 2019 who were running for council. We had people like Kawena Jones and Cheryl Martinga, who were some of my inspirations to this day, who were standing. And it was just incredible to see Māori people running for that seat, and young Māori people. So that definitely planted the seed in my heart to stand. But more recently, actually, my biggest motivation was obviously the climate that we're in with the government and honouring our history as Māori. We have a whakapapa of distrust to the system, only naturally. And so hearing about our whānau that was struggling with the Māori role or being deleted from the Māori role actually really hurt my heart, because I really believe in the system. And so when I came to that space, I really had to think about, is this really happening? Could this happen? But because of that whakapapa of distrust, I was thinking, no, this is not right. And so it motivated me to stand. It was the straw. I felt like I had two choices. My first choice was to either be angry and mad at the system forever and just give up on it altogether and just go the other way, or I thought I could stand and I could share my gifts that I have, my learnings, and jump into that space. So for me, there was only one option. There's always only been one option. It was the hardest thing to do, I guess, but it was the invitation to standing, and so I'm grateful that I'm here. And I also want to say in that space that I know that there are so many incredible people in this space of working in the system that are trying their best. And I want to mahi to those people. And I do believe that we've got to have systems that represent us and that work. And yeah, I won't give up believing in it, because I think we can do great things together.
Great, thank you. What challenges do you think Hamilton is facing at the moment? Have you got any strategies around to minimize them?
Yeah, I think we've got a lot of problems. There's a lot of stuff going on right now everywhere.
You work in the community, so you see them closely.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very lucky to be able to work cross-sector or inter-sector, where I get to see and be part of a lot of different hui, whether it be housing, whether it be kōrero about the economy. I'm very lucky to be in those spaces, and so I can see that firsthand. I think some of the biggest things that we face is actually that we kind of all work separate in different silos. This is a very common kōrero in the community sector. And I think, how can we get people to work more together, more cohesively, to solve the problems that our cities face instead of separate? So I've got a lot of strategies, actually. They're my 3 priorities, and I'm really excited to talk more about them.
Great, thank you. What is the biggest challenge in Maori ward right now? You have mentioned a little bit, but I would like to go a little bit into deep dive.
Yes.
What is the biggest challenge in Maori ward right now, and how would you tackle it?
Yes, I think there's a lot of challenges, to be honest. I think the biggest one is that Māori wards are actually up for debate. They're up for being kept or being deleted. So I think that's probably the biggest challenge at the moment when we think about Māori wards, is that it's going to a Māori ward referendum. So that's probably what I'd have to say about that. Yeah.
Great, thank you. How will you make sure all residents, including youth and minority groups, have a voice? As you already are their voice, but how would you?
Yeah, I love this partai. So one of my priorities that I care deeply about is all about wahi kōrero. It's about voice and it's about participation. And so I really wanted to think about ideas and priorities that could be the vehicle to help solve the issues, because there's so many different issues that I care about. But I thought, what are the things, the vehicles that are going to help these issues be solved? And inclusivity and participation and voice is one of the things that I really care about. And so I thought about the idea to introduce citizens' assemblies. Woohoo! I love it. It gets me excited. So taking inspiration from Wellington, who actually introduced Citizens Assembly, essentially what they did was that they sent out a survey to 10,000 people. From the 10,000 people, they chose a select few, whether it be 30 to 40 people, a number that they thought would be best. These groups are made up of different ethnicities, different age groups, different lived experience, different home ownership, different salary, to really make sure that diversity is at the table. From there, they work alongside experts in having their say in making decisions or recommendations about certain strategies that council wants to implement. Whether the Citizens Assembly is based on our city's transport or climate or the long-term plan, whatever it is, having Citizens Assembly as an opportunity to have access to sit at the table, to get connected to what's going on in our city, I think is what's going to bring us all together. And I feel really, really excited about it.
Great. I hope citizens are that excited as well and they would like to be part of it. Amazing. Thank you. How would you address housing affordability in Hamilton? What actions would you take?
Yes, this is a great part. I come from a whānau where we don't own homes, where we don't really own houses, so it's not a kōrero that I'm too privy to when it comes to housing affordability. I think it's so much deeper, but I know that the people that work in the sector are so skilled up, they already know a lot of the answers, and so I think it's just creating space to hear them and hearing what they've got to say about that.
Thank you. All right, hottest topic in the town at the moment, rates. Do you think, is there any chance to reduce rates so that everyone can afford?
I recently did a survey, and in the survey, one of the options was about having an option where you have a standard rate. However, you also have the option where it's user pays. So, I mean, that could be something to look into. Like I said before, I come from a whānau where we didn't really talk about rates at the table. So it isn't a topic that I'm too clued up with. And I think that is quite a common denominator around a lot of young people, especially when we think about, can we buy a house? Is that actually possible? So there's just a lot of things up in the world when it comes to kōrero around housing, but I do know that it is a space that I care about, and I think it's important. But yeah, more kōrero to come, I think. Yeah.
Thank you. What initiatives will you introduce to promote environmental sustainability in Hamilton?
Great pātai. Well, going back to one of my second point about wāhi kōrero and about creating space for participation, I think something that we could do is actually have citizens' assemblies that focus on community-led kind of development when it comes to talking about climate. So we could talk about in the Citizens' Assembly different green spaces or different kai spaces or different environment things. I think that would be pretty awesome.
That will be great. Thank you. Do you think existing public transportation is efficient, or do we need to make some major changes so we are ready for the future, as Hamilton is the fastest growing city in the country?
Yes, we are. That is correct. I've been really lucky lately to make connections with people in the accessibility community. I specifically want to mention Living Stretch and Bike Waikato. We went on a tour around different streets and we got to see firsthand the perspective of a pedestrian as well as cyclists, and how they kind of navigate the city in the means of utilising transport or just about the infrastructure. And so when I think we talk about transport, I definitely think there's ways that we could make it more affordable for sure. But I think that, again, a lot of the communities already know the answers. And so for me, hopefully I can just create a space for them to have their voice heard. Yeah.
Thank you. What measures will you take to reduce homelessness and provide support for those in need?
Yeah. I'm really lucky to be a part of the youth homelessness sector with Manaki Rangatahi ki Waikato, and that's made up with a whole bunch of different youth sector participants that are striving to end youth homelessness. And so I feel grateful that I'm in those spaces, that I can hear those kōrero. I also want to mention the mahi that Te Runanga o Kirikiriroa is doing. It's actually been really hopeful to actually see them open up new whare. I think that's so incredible and phenomenal to see hope like that in a time where housing is scarce, where it's hard and it's really difficult to people. Seeing the effort that they put into providing housing for rangatahi has been really hopeful on my journey, that there is hope and possibility from what they're already doing in the space. So I just want to acknowledge that in this space.
Thank you. How will you support mental health services and addiction recovery programs in the city?
Yes. I'm laughing because this is one of my biggest, I feel really, really, really passionate about this, and I know it's not a local issue. This is a national issue. This is one of the biggest things that our people face when it comes to addiction. And I remember speaking to some people, they said that our mental health system is not set up to support addiction. And I've also lived and had lived experience with people where it's just so difficult. When we talk about accessibility, it's one thing to know the people that you can get support from, which I'm lucky to working in community sector, but it's another thing to feel heard, to feel listened to find the right person. And then it's also another thing that the person who's struggling with addiction actually wants help. And that's something that has been one of the biggest struggles. But if I had to be honest with this is something that I would dedicate my whole life to, is helping out the addiction space and the mental health. However, I know how much that's going to take, and it feels like it's a really big spoon. It's a really big thing. If I did do something about it locally, I would probably take the route of doing something nationally. What that would look like is probably a whole bunch of advocacy. I mean, I'd probably have to read up on a lot of the legislation at the moment, connect with people that are already in the sector doing the mahi, and then from there probably put together a campaign to do something to actually make and enact changes. But that is so different to council and what council does. But it's something that is so interconnected nationally, locally. But like I said, having that systems change thinking, you always think about the root of the issue. So sure, I could go along and I could help all these addiction services te mea, but actually the problem's going to keep on persisting because the root of it, the legislation and how it works, it isn't right. So yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, and I know that would take so much from me. But I would do it. If that's the space that was created in council, I would do it.
Thank you. How would you support local small businesses to grow? Do you have any plans?
Yes. So one of my first things that I'm really excited about is actually about a connected Hamilton, Kirikiriroa tūhono. And so my inspiration for this idea actually came from my experience working in the space of kind of advocacy when it came to the Māori ward referendum. I was just really shocked that it was actually like a postal voting for the Māori ward referendum. I don't know why, I just thought referendum, it's going to be in person. I was so wrong. It's not in person. It was via postal, and this really shocked me. What this did was it set me down this rabbit hole where I started to investigate about our postal system. I started to learn that New Zealand Post was they've laid off about 750 workers. Not only that, it's quite an equitable system for people to make sure that they have their voices heard when it comes to voting. We also saw through the local government New Zealand Act that they put together an electoral reform working group where they made a lot of recommendations about how they're actually transitioning away from postal voting and wanting to focus more on in-person voting, which we will see at the next elections. So with all of this in mind, with all of these recommendations, I thought, okay, that's one point about our postal system. The second point of this idea for me was actually working in the digital identity space. So on my journey as a change maker, I really wanted to advocate for te reo Māori on driver's license. long story short, went down the rabbit hole, connected with one person, connected with another person, and actually had a conversation with someone about the back end of a lot of the system when it comes to actually putting Te Reo Māori on the driver's license. It isn't as simple as just changing things in the system. There's so much more in that world that just isn't connected to make Te Reo Māori actually go on driver's license. However, what they did say was that there's this whole new world around the digital identity framework, and essentially they said that that could be a really awesome place to start with thinking about how Te Reo Māori is implemented in digital identity spaces. And so from being in that space and seeing, I think, oh my gosh, okay, so digital identity or kōrero around digital infrastructure and connection is coming along now. This is what we're seeing. And so with all of this in mind, with my two inspirations, my two lived experiences, I thought, let's have digital mailboxes. Woohoo!
Okay.
So I thought of that as an option. To be able to connect people, to be able to connect in with council, but to still have both options possible. I think accessibility is really awesome when you still have the option to have postal and digital. I think that's the gift of accessibility. And so what I think would be awesome in helping businesses and answering your pātai is that I think that there's massive space there for development, for social cohesion, for connecting people together in a new way, utilizing digital infrastructure, thinking about the way that people are doing marketing services, all of that. How could we get connected through our digital infrastructure in the city and then utilize or incorporate whakaaro from businesses, perhaps through citizens' assemblies, whatever it may be, to actually work out how we can communicate and connect better online, in person, all of those things.
Great, thank you. Okay. Part of all this, do you think or do you have any ideas to create more jobs and support local entrepreneurs as well, as you're already into it? Do you think it will create a lot of opportunities around?
I think that there's a lot of richness that can come when people are well connected together. And so utilizing the system of a digital mailbox as well as citizens' assemblies, I can only imagine when you bring people together at that level, the different types of connections and opportunities that will come available to people when they're connecting. I also think as well, with Ngā Waihono i te Pō's recent kōrero around kind of investing in the economy and kind of springballing the Māori economy, I'm really curious to see what impact that's going to have on businesses, but also the job market for Māori as well. So a lot of curiosities.
Thank you. Okay. How will you ensure the ward develops in a way that benefits both current and future generations as well?
Yeah, I love this. So I've been really lucky to be a part of in organising hui for an Intended Future Generations Act, where we got to kōrero about what does it actually mean to think about future generations at the table. And I think already Māori do that so naturally. It's just something that's interwoven into who we are as people. And so, I don't think it's a problem. We always make mokopuna decisions as Māori. I mean, whoever's getting this seat, I know, will make mokopuna decisions. But I think there's this really beautiful metaphor that I think would be really powerful, is actually having an empty seat, and I know people do this, that represents future generations at the table, so that any time we have to make a decision, you look at the empty seat and you see that's the future.
Great. Thank you. Okay. If you elected, what would be your first priority in office?
I think my first priority would be to just find my feet. But my first priority would be to find connections and threads with all of the different councillors that are on council. And I think that would set a really good foundation just to whakawhanaungatanga with them as humans instead of politics, because I know that that's a space that everyone is moving into, it's just so polarized these days. And so for me, in the space of kotahitanga and connecting with other people, I think it would be connecting with the people that are on the table. That would be my first priority.
Great, thank you. All right, we're coming to the end now, and we have a few random quick questions. What are top 3 things Hamilton needs right now?
Okay, well, we need a digital mailbox, citizens' assemblies, and my awesome third idea is all about mana hapere. So it's about community pride, it's about identity and belonging. So this idea came about, I've been advocating in the space of our city's identity, where we had a symbol that I thought was not representative of the different amount of ethnicities that we have, and I also don't think that it honours Te Tiriti or Waitangi. So in that space, I thought about what is our identity and the narrative surrounding our identity as a city. Are we proud of our identity, but what is our identity, and is everyone on the same page of this? So for mana hapere, what I think would be awesome to have kōrero about is actually around our neighbourhoods and our neighbourhood identities. Our community centres are a pillar for our communities, but what are actually the identities of each suburb? What are the differences that they identify with? What are the things that if you were to print it on a t-shirt, that you could put it on and feel really, really proud of? So this idea gets me excited, and I remember when I was going to the night markets up in Tamaki Makaurau, they've got t-shirts printed out and they're really hood proud. And I think that's something that we don't have here too much, like we kind of do. But the identity piece of this, I think what it creates and connects to is opportunities for people to know where they come from, to feel connected to their suburb, their hood, to also be a part of designing and curating those identity pillars for neighbourhoods. But also being able to have a symbol that maybe we could get from a merch store or something like that, where our collective narrative as a city is actually enhanced because of our local hood rivalry, camaraderie, and all of those things. So I really love that. And I think complementing mana hapere would also be hood battles. I want to see some hood battles. I want to see the 846 versus the, 855. I just want to see it. I think it would be fun, whether it be through athletics, whether it be through a spelling bee, a chess tournament, whatever. Creating spaces for people to participate in camaraderie, in just some fun vibes, I think is what's going to help create that cohesion, kotahitanga, that belonging and that sense of identity, not just within the neighbourhoods, but within the people that exist within them, and that can only have a massive impact on our city identity and how we feel, how we are together as a city.
That's a great
so those
one.
are my 3 things.
Thank you. Okay. What are top 3 beautiful places in Hamilton as a point of tourist attraction?
Yes. Wow, there's all the classics, but for me personally, I love the different pa sites that we have around our city. I think they're incredible. I also really love the awa. I love the river. I love the Waikato River. Yeah, I think that's a beautiful space. And I also love Waiwhakariki Natural Heritage Park. It's across the road from the zoo. I've got a really strong connection to that space. And so I think that would be a cool tourist space. But we do have those places like the Hamilton Gardens and the base. But finding more spaces that I think contribute to our identity. Yeah, I think the Gardens does, but we need to kōrero more about that.
Great, thank you. All right. So, if you're elected and you're given $1 million grant right now, what would you use it on? What services would you put it on?
Oh my gosh. Oh man, there's so many services. Well, it would be nice. It would be nice to have $1 million.
You have to use it, sorry.
Yeah, I got to use it?
Yes.
Okay, I would definitely probably invest it into the community sector. I would probably put it into the housing sector, the Ngāki Rangatahi.
Great. Thank you, Jahaya. Thank you for great insight. Do you have any message for the audience? Would you like to tell them anything?
Yeah, I would like to say one of my biggest curiosities that I have about voting for the Māori wards is actually around just honouring that moko tawariki and Miriam were in that space, and so there was like a balance of masculine and feminine energies in that space. So I'm really curious as how people will vote in thinking or potentially seeing that the seat is for Tane and kind of upholding that mana of that space. And I want to say that I respect that whakaaro, because I know how as Tainui we're really like tika with our tikanga, and so I really want to mihi and just say that I really respect that whakaaro that I've been hearing. And I think an encouragement or an invitation that I have is to think about the people that are going to take our city into the future. And whether that's me or someone else that you're voting for, I think that's my biggest encouragement right now, is who is best to take our city in the future, and vote that way. And I'd also encourage everyone to vote and to support Māori wards. From my hiding it in my various spaces and connecting with the Māori ward candidates, both Maria, Moko, and I also want to mihi Malena as well. It was the first time that I actually felt represented on council. Now that's crazy, because I realised that I never felt represented before. So essentially by them being there, what it has done, like especially Maria has been a massive inspiration to me in her leadership style. She's so poetic, and she really broke the bounds of what I thought I had to be working in a Western system. And so seeing and witnessing that has encouraged me to stand. But what it's done more than that is to realise my mana and my power being Māori, and to know that it's only tika, that there's nothing to be afraid of, that we're doing stuff in partnership and we're so much richer with the experience of Māori at the table. It's just plain simple honouring Te Tiriti o Waitangi, but more than that, the relational skills, the ties to the whenua, the ties to Te Reo Māori, it only enriches our city, and it's enriched my life, feeling represented at the table, encouraging me to lead, but also having a relational connection with two incredible representatives. I think they've done a really great job. So vote yes for Māori wards.
Great, thank you. All right, thank you everyone. If you have made it up to now, please, future depends on your vote. So please vote. Thank you.